The Great Hall of the Galactic Assembly was the largest structure ever built by any species in known space. It floated at the center of neutral territory, a massive sphere of crystal and metal where representatives from over 60 alien races gathered to discuss matters of war and peace. For 9,000 years, this place had been the heart of galactic civilization. Every conflict was resolved here. Every treaty was signed here. Every species that wished to survive learned to come here and bend the knee. The Voraton Empire had called this emergency session. Their ambassador, a tall creature with gray skin and 6 arms, stood at the central platform. His name was Krell Vorith, and he had crushed more rebellions than most species had years of recorded history. "The situation is simple," Krell said, his voice booming through the translation systems. "The humans have refused our generous offer. They have insulted the Vorton Empire. They have insulted this council. They must be taught their place," the assembly murmured in agreement. Humans were new to the galactic stage. They had only discovered faster-than-light travel 80 years ago. They controlled just 12 star systems. The Vorton Empire controlled 3,000. This should not have been a discussion at all. Ambassador Linda Cooper sat in the human section with her 2 aides, a young man named Kevin Walsh and a woman named Sandra Bell. Linda was 57 years old. With silver hair and calm brown eyes, she had spent 30 years in the diplomatic corps. But nothing had prepared her for this. The Vorton offer had been simple: surrender control of 3 human colonies. Allow Vorton military bases in human space, and pay tribute every year. In exchange, the Vorton would not destroy Earth. Linda had said, "No, not let us consider it. Not perhaps we can negotiate. Just no." The assembly had not known how to respond. In 9,000 years of galactic history, no species had ever simply refused. There were always negotiations. There were always compromises. That was how civilization worked. High Chancellor Myra of the Dileth Collective raised her crystalline form to speak. Her species had no solid body, existing as organized light patterns held together by ancient technology. They were considered the wisest of all galactic races. "Perhaps the humans do not understand their situation," Myra said, her voice like wind chimes. "They are young. They have not seen what happens to species that refuse the Council's wisdom. We should educate them." "We do not need education," Linda said, standing up. "We understand perfectly. The Vorton Empire wants to take what is ours. They want to use our worlds and our people. They have wrapped this theft in pretty words about protection and alliance, but we see it for what it is." Krell Vorith laughed, a harsh sound that made several nearby delegates flinch. "And what will you do, little human? Your entire fleet could not match a single Vorton battle group. Your weapons are primitive. Your shields are weak. You have nothing." Linda smiled. It was a small smile, almost sad. "We have something you do not understand, Ambassador. We have the word no. That word will not stop our weapons. Perhaps not, but it will define how we meet them." Linda gathered her notes and nodded to her aides. "This council has made its position clear. The Vorta Empire intends to conquer human space, and this assembly will do nothing to stop them. We accept this. We do not accept the conquest itself." She began walking toward the exit. "You cannot simply leave," Krell shouted. "We have not finished."
We have.
Linda replied without turning around. "You want something from us. We have told you that you cannot have it. There is nothing more to discuss." The doors closed behind the human delegation. For a long moment, the assembly was silent. Then chaos erupted. Delegates shouted at each other. Some demanded immediate military action. Others urged caution. A few quietly began calculating how to profit from the coming conflict. High Chancellor Myra watched it all with ancient eyes. She had seen this before, thousands of years ago, when her own species had faced a similar choice. They had chosen to negotiate. They had survived, but something had been lost in that survival, something that could never be recovered. She wondered if the humans knew what they were doing. She wondered if they understood that they had just signed their own death warrant. But somewhere deep in her crystalline form, in a place she had almost forgotten existed, she felt something stir. It took her a moment to recognize it. It was hope. 3 weeks later, the Vorton War fleet assembled at the border of human space. 200 ships, each one capable of destroying a planet. Admiral Threk Vorath, cousin to Ambassador Krell, commanded the expedition personally, scanned for their defenses. Threk ordered from his command throne. Scanning, his tactical officer replied. Then, confusion in his voice. Admiral, there is nothing here. Explain. No defense platforms. No minefields. No fleet formations. The border is completely unprotected. Threk felt a moment of disappointment. He had hoped for a battle. A proper conquest required resistance. Something to crush. Something to make the victory meaningful. They have fled, he decided. Their courage failed them. Move the fleet forward. We will take their worlds one by one. The Vorton ships crossed into human space. They traveled for 6 hours, moving deeper into enemy territory, finding nothing but empty space and distant stars. Then the first ship vanished. There was no explosion, no energy signature, no warning at all. One moment the heavy cruiser Dominant Will was there, and the next moment it was simply gone. What happened? Threk demanded. Unknown, Admiral. Scanning for debris. A pause. There is no debris. The ship is simply not there anymore. Before anyone could respond, 3 more ships vanished. Then 10. Then 20. Retreat, Threk shouted. All ships retreat to the border. But the border seemed very far away now. Ships disappeared in clusters, silently, impossibly. The Vorton fleet, which had entered human space with 200 vessels, was down to less than 50 in a matter of minutes. A communication signal appeared on the main screen. A human face looked out at them, an older man with a gray beard and tired eyes. His uniform identified him as Commander Nathan Ross of the Earth Defense Force. Admiral Threk, Nathan said. Your fleet has been disabled. Your crews are being transported to your remaining vessels. You will return to Vorton space and deliver a message to your government. What message? Threk asked, his voice barely a whisper. The same message our ambassador gave your council? No. Screen went dark. When the Vorton survivors returned home, they brought with them stories that would spread across the galaxy. Stories of ships that vanished without a trace. Stories of human technology that made no sense. Stories of a species that did not negotiate, did not threaten, did not bluff. They simply said no. And then they made that no into reality. The Galactic Assembly called an emergency session. But this time, there was no talk of teaching humans their place. There was only one question on every delegate's mind. What were they going to do now? The news spread through the galaxy like fire through dry grass. The mighty Vorton fleet, pride of the greatest military power in known space, had been defeated without a single shot being fired. 160 ships had simply stopped existing. The crews were found drifting in emergency pods. Alive but unable to explain what had happened to them, every intelligence agency in the galaxy turned its attention to humanity. Senior analyst Veth Karan of the Dilith Collective spent 3 months studying every piece of information available about the humans. He reviewed their history, their culture, their technology, and their psychology. What he found kept him awake at night. He presented his findings to High Chancellor Myra in a private chamber. Far from the listening devices that filled the assembly hall, "They are not like us," Veth began, his crystalline form flickering with nervous energy. "We assumed they were simply young, that they would learn the ways of galactic civilization in time. We were completely wrong," explained, Mira said. Veth activated a holographic display. Images of human history filled the room. Wars that killed millions. Weapons that could poison entire continents. Camps built specifically to murder innocent people. Cities turned to ash in single moments. They did all of this to themselves, Veth said. Not to enemies from other worlds. Not to alien species. To their own kind. For thousands of years, every generation of humans has invented new ways to kill. Every peace they have known was just a rest before the next war. Myra's light patterns shifted to deeper colors. then they are dangerous. More dangerous than we thought. Yes, but not in the way you might expect. Veth changed the display to show the Vorten fleet incident. Look at what they did here. They had the power to destroy every ship. They chose not to. They disabled the vessels perfectly, rescued every crew member, and sent them home. They could have killed tens of thousands. Instead, they killed no one. Why would they show such mercy? Because mercy was not the point. The point was the message. Veth leaned forward. They wanted the Vorton to know exactly what happened. They wanted us all to know. They did not destroy the fleet because destroying it was unnecessary. The demonstration was enough. Mira considered this for a long moment. What do they want? That is what frightens me most, Chancellor. I do not know. They have not made any demands. They have not claimed any territory. They have not threatened anyone. They simply exist in their small corner of the galaxy. And when someone threatens them, they respond with overwhelming force and then go quiet again. Perhaps they want to be left alone. Perhaps. But there is another possibility. Vith's form flickered. Perhaps they are waiting. Waiting for what? For us to give them a reason. The Vorten Empire did not take its defeat well. Ambassador Krell gave speech after speech, demanding that the full might of galactic civilization be brought down upon humanity. He found many allies. The Vorten were not the only species that had built their power on intimidation and conquest. Many races had grown comfortable with the old ways. The ways where strength meant dominance and weakness meant submission. A coalition formed. 18 species contributed ships to a combined fleet that would dwarf anything the galaxy had ever seen. 12,000 warships from across known space, armed with the most advanced weapons available, crewed by the finest soldiers of a dozen races. Admiral Soren Velek of the Kreth Dominion was given command. He was old and experienced, a veteran of 40 campaigns. He had never lost a battle. "We will not make the Vorton mistake," Soren announced to his officers. "We will not advance blindly. We will move slowly, scanning everything, watching for any sign of human technology. When we find their weapons, we will destroy them. When we find their ships, we will capture them. When we find their worlds, we will burn them." The coalition fleet moved toward human space in perfect formation. Scouts went ahead, searching for traps. Sensor ships scanned every asteroid, every dust cloud, every empty patch of space. They found nothing. Days passed. The fleet crossed into human territory. Still nothing. They are hiding, Soren decided. They know they cannot face us directly. They will try to pick us apart one ship at a time, the way they did with the Vorten. We will not allow it. Maintain tight formation. No ship travels alone. The fleet continued its advance. One star system fell without resistance. Then another. Then a third. The human colonies were empty, their populations evacuated, their cities abandoned. "Cowards," Krell, Voreth said. He had insisted on accompanying the fleet, eager to witness the destruction of the species that had humiliated his people. "They run from us like prey animals." Soren did not respond. Something about this felt wrong. The humans had shown no fear when facing the Vorton. Why would they flee now? On the 7th day, deep inside human space, the answer came. Every screen on every ship in the fleet flickered at the same moment. A human face appeared, a woman with dark hair and green eyes. Her uniform identified her as Admiral Grace Kennedy of the Earth Defense Force. To the commanders of the coalition fleet, Grace said, "This is your only warning. You have entered human space with hostile intent. You have 1 hour to begin withdrawal. If you do not withdraw, we will be forced to respond." Soren leaned forward. "Respond to this signal. Tell them we do not accept ultimatums." "Admiral, we cannot trace the source of the transmission. It appears to be coming from everywhere at once," Krell laughed. "Empty threats. They hide in the shadows and pretend to be powerful. Ignore them. Continue the advance." 1 hour passed. Then, across the entire fleet, something began to change. Navigation systems activated without orders. Engines fired without commands. Weapons powered down without explanation. Every ship in the Coalition fleet began to turn. Slowly, gracefully, like leaves caught in a gentle wind. They turned away from human space, away from the empty colonies, away from the war they had come to fight. Soren shouted. All ships, manual override. We cannot, Admiral. The systems are not responding. We have lost all control. The 12,000 ships of the Coalition fleet sailed home in perfect formation. Their crews could do nothing but watch as their vessels carried them back to their own space. The journey took 3 weeks. No one could stop it. No one could change it. When they finally returned, the galaxy was waiting for them. Not with anger. Not with disappointment. With fear. Because if the humans could do this to 12,000 ships, what else could they do? What other technology did they possess? What other secrets were they hiding? The Coalition dissolved overnight. Every species withdrew to its own territory. Every fleet stayed close to home. Every government began to wonder the same terrible question. What happens when the humans decide to stop saying no? The Galactic Assembly had never been so quiet. Representatives from 60 species sat in their designated sections, but no one spoke. No one argued. No one made demands or threats or grand statements about honor and power. They were all too afraid. High Chancellor Mira called the session to order. Her crystalline form glowing with soft blue light. She had lived for over 4,000 years. She had seen empires rise and fall. She had watched species destroy themselves through war and greed and stupidity. But she had never seen anything like this. We must discuss the human situation, she began. What is there to discuss? Asked Representative Tal Vorn of the Marsh Confederation. His species were small, timid creatures who had survived by being useful to larger powers. They have shown us that we cannot defeat them. Our only choice is to leave them alone and let them grow stronger. Krell Voreth stood up, his 6 arms gesturing wildly. Every year they expand. Every year they develop new technology. If we do not stop them now, while they are still small, they will become unstoppable. They already are unstoppable, said a voice from the back of the chamber. Everyone turned to look. The speaker was an ancient being, a member of a species so old that no one remembered their original name. They were called simply the Elders. There were only a few hundred of them left in the entire galaxy. And they rarely involved themselves in politics. This one was called Morek. He moved slowly to the central platform, his body bent with age, his skin like cracked stone. I have studied the humans, Morek said. I have reviewed every piece of data, every recording, every analysis, and I have come to a conclusion that none of you will want to hear. Speak, Mira said. The humans are not refusing to negotiate because they are aggressive. They are not building weapons because they want to conquer us. They are doing these things because they are afraid. Laughter erupted from several sections of the assembly. Krell Voreth's voice was loudest. Afraid, they destroyed our fleet. They sent the Coalition home like disobedient children. They have shown no fear at all. You do not understand, Morek replied. I said they are afraid. I did not say they are weak. Those are very different things. He activated the holographic display. Images of human history appeared, but different images than Vethkoran had shown. Images of humans helping each other. Humans rebuilding after disasters. Humans sacrificing themselves to save strangers. They know what they are capable of, Morek said. They know the darkness that lives inside them. They have seen it. They have lived it. And they have spent their entire history trying to overcome it. What does this have to do with us? Mira asked. Everything. Marique changed the display to show the galaxy with human space marked in blue. When they came to the stars, they hoped to find something better than themselves. They hoped to find wise species who had learned to live in peace. Instead, they found us. They found empires built on slavery and conquest. They found civilizations that had been oppressing each other for thousands of years. They found everything they feared about themselves, spread across the stars. The chamber was silent now. Even Krell Voreth had nothing to say. They are not refusing to negotiate because they want power, Morek continued. They are refusing because they know what negotiation means in this galaxy. It means the strong take what they want, and the weak accept what they are given. They refuse to be part of that system. Then what do they want? Asked Talvorn. They want what they have always wanted, a chance to become something better, and they will not let anyone take that chance away from them. Days after Morik's speech, something unexpected happened. A human ship arrived at the Galactic Assembly. Not a warship. A small diplomatic vessel, carrying a single passenger. Her name was Rebecca Martin. She was 32 years old, a junior diplomat who had been chosen specifically because she was not important. If something happened to her, it would not be a major loss for humanity. She stood at the central platform, looking out at 60 species who had every reason to hate her kind. She showed no fear. "I have come to explain," Rebecca said. "Not to negotiate, not to make demands. Just to explain, so that maybe we can understand each other." "Explain what?" Mira asked. "Why we say no?" Rebecca took a deep breath. "In our history, there was a time when we believed that peace could be achieved through strength. We built weapons. We formed alliances. We threatened our enemies and rewarded our friends. And every time it led to war. Every single time." She activated her own holographic display. Images of human peace treaties appeared. Treaties that had failed. Agreements that had been broken. Promises that had meant nothing. "We learned something from all that blood," Rebecca said. "We learned that negotiation only works when both sides have something the other wants. When one side has everything and the other side has nothing, negotiation is just a polite word for surrender." "So you refuse to negotiate because you believe we would take advantage of you," Krell said. "You insult us." "No, we refuse to negotiate because we believe you would try to take advantage of us, and we would be forced to stop you, and then people would die. We do not want people to die. Not yours. It's not ours. Not anyone's." "You speak of not wanting death," Myra said, "but your technology is clearly designed for war." "Yes, it is. Because we know that peace does not come from good intentions. Peace comes from making war impossible. Our technology does not kill. It prevents killing. It stops weapons from working. It returns soldiers to their homes. It makes violence pointless."
Ow!
"And if someone develops technology that can overcome yours," Rebecca smiled. It was a sad smile. "We will develop something better, and they will develop something to counter that. And we will counter their counter. This is the cycle we have lived with for our entire history. But we have decided that if we must have this cycle, we will keep it to ourselves. We will not let it spread to the rest of the galaxy." "You see yourselves as protectors," Mira said slowly. "You believe you are protecting us from yourselves. You are protecting everyone from the thing we fear most. Not death. Not conquest. The thing we fear most is becoming what we have always had the potential to become, monsters." Rebecca looked around the chamber. "We have seen the monster inside us. We have fought it for thousands of years. And we will continue fighting it forever if we have to. But we will not, under any circumstances, let that monster loose on the galaxy." The chamber was absolutely silent. Finally, Morik spoke. "And what do you want from us?" "Nothing. We want nothing from you. We just want you to understand. The next time you think about threatening human space, the next time you think about forming another coalition, the next time you think we can be intimidated or bribed or persuaded, remember this moment. Remember that we told you the truth. And remember that we meant every word." Rebecca turned and walked out of the chamber. No one tried to stop her. 2 years passed after Rebecca Martin's speech. The galaxy did not forget, but it did begin to hope that perhaps the crisis was over. The humans stayed in their small corner of space. They did not expand. They did not threaten anyone. They simply existed, quiet and watchful. But the old powers had not given up. In secret, far from the Galactic Assembly, representatives of 12 species gathered to discuss what they called the human problem. They met on a hidden station in deep space, beyond the reach of any surveillance. Their leader was a Vorten general named Keth Norax, younger and more ambitious than Krell Vorath. "The coalition failed because we were too obvious," Keth said. We gathered our fleets in one place. We announced our intentions. We gave them time to prepare. We will not make those mistakes again. What do you propose? Asked a Kreth commander named Suraven. We strike at their heart. Not with fleets. With a single weapon. Something so powerful that even their technology cannot stop it. He activated a holographic display. A device appeared, spherical and covered with strange markings. It was small enough to fit in a cargo container. This is the Silence, Keth said. Our scientists have been working on it for a century. It generates a field that destroys all electronic systems within a radius of 1 light year. Ships, stations, planetary infrastructure, everything. When we activate it in Earth's solar system, every piece of human technology will simply stop working. And then? Sora asked. Then we send in cleanup crews with hardened equipment. We capture their scientists. We learn their secrets, and we make sure that no species ever threatens the natural order again. The plan took 6 months to prepare. The Silence was loaded onto a small freighter, disguised as a merchant vessel. A volunteer crew agreed to deliver it, knowing they would not survive the journey home. The freighter crossed into human space without incident. Human border patrols scanned it, found nothing unusual, and let it pass. The Silence was shielded, invisible to any sensor technology the humans possessed. Or so they thought, Captain. Derek Palmer of the Earth Defense Force watched the freighter on his screen. He was 45 years old, a career officer who had seen the Vorten incident and the Coalition retreat. He knew what his species was capable of. He also knew what other species were capable of. That freighter is carrying something, Derek said to his first officer, Lieutenant Maria Santos. The sensor profile is wrong. There is a void in the middle of the cargo bay, something our scanners cannot penetrate. Should we intercept? Derek considered. The freighter was heading directly for Earth. It would arrive in 3 days. Whatever it was carrying, it was not meant to be friendly. I'll let them come. But alert command. Tell them we have a situation. The freighter continued its journey. Its crew believed they were invisible, undetected, carrying the weapon that would end human dominance forever. They were wrong on every count. On the day the freighter entered Earth's solar system, something strange happened. Every screen on the ship flickered. A human face appeared, an older woman with gray hair and calm eyes. She wore an admiral's uniform. This is Admiral Victoria Stone of the Earth's Defense Force, she said. We know what you are carrying. We know what you intend to do. We have known from the moment your ship crossed our border. The freighter captain, a Vorten named Trell Cass, felt his blood run cold. How? Because we are not fools. We know the galaxy wants to destroy us. We know there are always new plots, new weapons, new attempts to break us. We have been watching for them since the day we first left our world. Then why did you let us get this far? Victoria's expression did not change. Because we wanted you to understand something. Your weapon would not have worked. Our technology is not electronic. It has not been electronic for over a century. The Silence would have been impressive, but ultimately useless. Trell felt sick. All of this, all the planning, all the sacrifice, for nothing. We are going to let you go, Victoria continued. You will return to your masters and tell them what happened here. Tell them that we knew. Tell them that we were ready. Tell them that we will always be ready. Why? Trell asked. Why not destroy us? Why not make an example? Because that is what you would do. That is what every power in this galaxy would do. And we are trying very hard not to be like you. The freighter turned around. Its navigation systems activated on their own, setting a course back to Vorten space. Trell and his crew could do nothing but watch. When news of the failure reached the Secret Alliance, there was panic. Keth Norax disappeared, presumably executed by his own government. The other conspirators scattered, trying to distance themselves from the disaster, but the damage was done. Not to the humans. To the galaxy, every species now understood that human intelligence networks reached everywhere. Every plot would be discovered. Every weapon would be anticipated. Every scheme would fail before it began. The Galactic Assembly called another emergency session. High Chancellor Mira addressed the gathered representatives with a heavy voice. We have tried threats. We have tried force. We have tried deception. All have failed. The humans do not conquer us because they do not need to. They are already more powerful than all of us combined. The only question that remains is what we do now. We could try actual diplomacy, suggested Talvorn quietly. Not negotiation. Not threats dressed up as offers. Real diplomacy. We could try treating them as equals. Krelvorath laughed bitterly. Equals? They are not our equals. They are our superiors. And they know it. Perhaps, said Morik, who had been silent throughout the session. But they have never acted like superiors. They have never demanded tribute. They have never taken territory. They have never enslaved anyone. They have only ever defended themselves. What are you suggesting? Mira asked. I am suggesting that perhaps they meant what they said. Perhaps they really do just want to be left alone. Perhaps the only thing they ask of us is that we stop trying to destroy them. Morik's ancient eyes swept across the assembly. Is that really so much to ask? No one had an answer. The session ended without resolution. But something had changed. For the first time in galactic history, the great powers were not asking how to defeat an enemy. They were asking whether they needed to be enemies at all. It was a small change. But small changes, given enough time, can become very large indeed. 5 years after the Silence incident, the galaxy was a different place. Not transformed. Not healed. But different. The Vorton Empire still existed, but it had stopped expanding. The cost of war had become too high when any potential enemy might have human allies. The Kreth Dominion focused on internal development instead of conquest. The smaller species, for the first time in millennia, could speak in the assembly without fear of immediate punishment. None of this was because of human intervention. The humans had done nothing. They had made no alliances, offered no protection, threatened no one. They had simply continued to exist. Quiet reminder that the old rules no longer applied. Ambassador Linda Cooper, now 70 years old, returned to the Galactic Assembly one final time. This was her last mission before retirement. She had spent 13 years dealing with aliens who wanted her species dead. She was tired, but she had one more thing to say. The assembly hall was packed. Every species sent their most senior representatives. Even the elders attended, a rare honor that had not been seen in generations. Linda walked slowly to the central platform. Her hair was completely white now, her face lined with age and stress. But her eyes were still sharp, still calm, still utterly unafraid. Thank you for receiving me, she began. I know many of you still see humanity as a threat. I understand why. We have power you cannot match. We have technology you cannot understand. In your position, I would be afraid too, she paused, looking around the chamber. But I am not here to talk about power or technology. I am here to talk about something else. I am here to talk about hope. A murmur ran through the assembly. Hope was not a word often spoken in these halls. When we first came to the stars, Linda continued, we were terrified. Not of you. Of ourselves. We knew what we were capable of. We knew the darkness in our own hearts. We had seen it destroy cities, poison continents, murder millions. We were afraid that if we found other species, we would do to them what we had done to ourselves. But that is not what happened, Mira said. You have harmed no one. No, we have not. And do you know why? Linda smiled. Because you were just as broken as we were. You had empires built on slavery. You had species that had been oppressing each other for thousands of years. You were not better than us. You were the same. That is not a compliment, Krelvorath said stiffly. No, it is not. But it is the truth, and the truth gave us hope. Linda activated her holographic display. Images appeared of human colonies, of children playing in parks, of families sharing meals, of people living ordinary lives. We realized that we were not monsters. We were just people, struggling with the same problems everyone else struggles with. Fear, greed, pride, the desire for power. The temptation to take what we want instead of earning it. These are not human problems. They are problems of all thinking beings. What is your point? Asked Talvorn. My point is that if these problems are universal, then so are the solutions. We have spent thousands of years learning to control our worst impulses. We have built systems to prevent tyrants from rising. We have created cultures that value cooperation over domination. It was not easy. It cost us more than you can imagine. But we did it. Linda turned off the display. You can do it too. Not because we force you to. Not because we threaten you. But because you want to. Because you are tired of living in fear. Because you know, deep down, that there has to be a better way. The chamber was silent. No one moved. No one spoke. We are not going to save you, Linda said. We are not going to conquer you. We are not going to lead you or guide you or tell you what to do. That is not our place. You must find your own path, just as we found ours. Then why are you here? Mira asked. Linda smiled again, and this time there was warmth in it. Real warmth, not the cold courtesy of a diplomat. I am here to tell you that it is possible. That is all. Whatever you have done, whatever you have become, you can change. It will not be easy. It will take generations. You will fail many times before you succeed. But it is possible. We are living proof. She stepped back from the platform. That is my message. That is the only thing humanity has to offer. Not technology. Not protection. Not power. Just the knowledge that you are not alone. That others have walked this path before you. That the darkness inside you is not the only thing you contain. Linda walked toward the exit. This time, no one demanded she stay. No one threatened consequences. But someone did speak.
Wait.
Morag called. I have a question. Linda turned. Yes. You said you are proof that change is possible. But you also said it took you thousands of years. Generations of suffering. Countless deaths. Is there no faster way? Linda thought for a long moment before answering. Perhaps. We do not know. We only know our own path, and it was long and bloody. But perhaps you can learn from our mistakes. Perhaps you can skip some of the steps we had to take. Perhaps your path will be shorter than ours. And if it is not, then you keep walking anyway. That is what we did. That is what we continue to do. We are not finished. We may never be finished. But we keep walking because the alternative is to stand still and let the darkness win. She turned away again. One more thing, Morag said. Linda paused. Thank you. For telling us the truth. For treating us as something other than enemies. Linda did not turn around, but her voice was soft when she replied. You were never our enemies. You were just lost. The same way we were lost. The same way everyone is lost. Sometimes, she took a breath. Find your way home. That is all we ask. Find your way home, and maybe someday we can walk together. She left the chamber. The assembly sat in silence for a long time after she was gone. Then, slowly, conversations began. Not arguments. Not threats. Real conversations about real problems and real solutions. It was not the end of anything. It was not even the beginning of the end. But it was, perhaps, the end of the beginning. And somewhere, in a small corner of the galaxy, humanity watched and waited and hoped. They had planted a seed. Now they would see if anything grew. Because that was what humanity did best. They endured. They survived. And no matter how dark the night became, they never stopped believing that dawn was possible. The galaxy was broken. But broken things could be fixed. It would take time. It would take patience. It would take generations of work and countless failures. In moments of despair, when everything seemed hopeless. But it was possible, and sometimes that was enough.